Welcome back. In this video, we will build a REST API in Gene Web Framework. A REST API is a way for different programs to communicate over the internet. It allows you to perform operations like getting data, sending, updating, and deleting data from the server. Each piece of data or resource has its own unique URL, and you use simply HTTP method like get, post, put, and delete to interact with these resources. First, let's create a simple example. To init the module, run go mod init main. This will generate a go mod file, which is the primary file for tracking module dependencies. It will also include the go version and dependencies. Also run the command go get and the path to the gene. It will download and install the Gene Web Framework and its dependencies. Create main.go file. Start with the package main and function main. Define a gene router. And use the router method get to connect the router slash with the target function home. Call router run method, which starts listening and serving HTTP requests. Next, we are defining home function, which has a type of handle func. This means that our function will accept one argument of type gene context. It will give us access to the HTTP request. Using context variable, we can simply send a response by executing the JSON function. To JSON function, we have to pass two arguments, the HTTP status code and some data. The HTTP status OK is a constant that is equal to 200, which means that request was successful. Gene.hash provides a comfortable way to create JSON objects in your responses. Now run the app using go run main.go. As it is GET request, you can see the results using browser. Open localhost with a port 8080 and we will see the message. Now open the developers tool in Chrome. And also we can see a status code, message and other data related to the response. This was a simple example. Now I will add more functionality to have possibility to set and get data from the API. First, let's create another package models. Also the file news.go. News.go file will use package models. In this file, I will create a news tract. News have a tree field, ID, which is an integer and will be used to identify the news, title of the news, which will be string, and the description of the news, which is also a string. Now declare a variable news, which is a slice of news tract, and initialize it as an empty slice. Define a method create news for a news type. The receiver n is of type news. Inside this method, the receiver n is appended to the news slice. Let's also create a regular function getNews, which will just return a current state of the news slice. And it is required to make the function name in uppercase, so we will use it outside of the package. Change the endpoint to the /news. Call getNews function inside the handler function, and the returned value we can set as a response. The slice of a news will be automatically transformed to the JSON by the gene package. Let's also register the new endpoint, which will be responsible for creating news, so the method will be post. In the add news, we need to extract the data from the request. Declare a variable news of type a news tract. This will hold news item data extracted from the incoming request. The should bind JSON method parses the JSON request body and populates the field of the news variable with the corresponding data. We also have to call createNews method. This method appends the news to the global news slice and return JSON response with the status code HTTP status created. This is a constant and equal to 201. And message that news created also return a newly created news. To test the endpoints, we can use the REST client extension from Visual Studio Code. This extension is used to send the request inside the Visual Studio Code. If you haven't installed it, open the extensions, search for REST client and click to the install. For the test API, create a new folder test API and also create two files. Add new.http and get news.http. Let's now write add news. First, we have to specify the method, which is in this case post, and after the URL, which is localhost with 8080 port, and we also have a path /new/add. We have to specify the content type because we will send the data in the JSON format, so it will be content type application/JSON. We are set the title and the description. I'm not adding the ID because by ID should be set in the server side because we don't know how many news exist, so we don't know what to send as an ID. If you install the extension at the top, you will see the send request button. And also let's set the get news.http. For the gets is more simple. You just write a method which is a get and just a URL, and that's it. Now we need to run the application. Click to the send request. We can see that there is no news. Also at the top, we can see the request details. Now open the add news.http and click to the send request. We will get as a response the data about newly created news. Let's a bit change the title and send again. Now we created two news already. And as we already created two news, let's now try to get them. Open back get news.http and send request, and we can get the created news. One note is that the news is stored in the simple variable. Anytime when you restart the app, the data will be lost. In the next videos, we will use a database and data will be permanently saved. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel.